And when we get done here, make sure you take a moment to lift up Peter Schiffer and his mom in your hearts. Well, Samuel Adams said that it does not require a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen to setting brush fires in people's minds. And today, all across America, those fires have finally been lit. I'm going to share with you a couple of things that have led to this financial crisis. Number one, the Federal Reserve, and number two, the failure of Congress to follow the Constitution. The former Soviet Union has provided ample evidence that a few men at the top cannot regulate prices and supply of goods. But why is it that here in America, our most important product, money, is regulated, and the supply of it, the price of it, is determined by a few men at the top of the Federal Reserve? There's been a lot of blame spread around as to what has caused the meltdown, and you might have heard that it was Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, it was greedy Wall Street bankers or hedge funds, maybe it was this or that president or this or that political party. But all of those, even though they do have their own problems, they are only the symptoms. But the root cause of our dilemma lies specifically with the Federal Reserve and its manipulation of our money, and most directly the manipulation of the interest rate. When the interest rate on borrowed money is artificially lowered, credit is made too cheap and too easy to obtain. This allows euphoria to spread throughout consumers and investors, and it ultimately leads to a bubble. And the result of that bubble always pops. So, booms and busts. Some of you maybe never heard this before, but booms and busts do not just mysteriously happen in an economy. And in fact, Friedrich Hayek won the Nobel Prize in Economics for showing just how central banking and its manipulation of the interest rate creates unsustainable booms that always lead to a bust. And what that means is without the Federal Reserve's intervention into the marketplace, the housing bubble would never have been allowed to occur in the first place. So what then is the cure? Now that the damage has been done, unfortunately, the recession is the cure. The market right now is crying out for asset prices to fall back down to something realistic. All of the malinvestments that have been made during the boom period need to be liquidated, and the inefficient businesses do need to be allowed to go under. As a result, this will allow other investors to step forward and buy up the good remaining assets and put them to more efficient use. The sooner the market correction is allowed to begin, the sooner resources and labor will get reallocated to more sustainable lines of production. And the good news about that, Americans will be able to get back to work. Now, right now, unfortunately, government and the Federal Reserve are trying their hardest to prevent any market correction. Every business that gets bailed out, every asset price that is propped up, and every dollar that gets spent on stimulus only slows down recovery. And the trillions of dollars that are being injected into the economy are phony dollars created out of thin air. More inflation of the money supply will lead to higher prices, a higher cost of living. It steals the wealth of those who have saved, and it crushes those who live on a fixed income. Right now, their actions are threatening to turn a recession into a depression. And what is worse, it runs the risk of hyperinflation, bringing a collapse to the dollar. Now, what culpability does Congress have in all of this financial mess? The purpose of law is to secure man's right to his life, liberty, and property. And anything beyond this, law becomes an instrument of legalized theft. So my question to them is, where is it written in the Constitution? In what article or section is it contained that you may take the money of Americans and give it to your politically favored industry? According to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, Congress has been granted a total of how many powers? 18 powers, that's right. It doesn't take a law degree to figure out that much of what they've been getting up to is not authorized by the rule of law. So we have a decades-long problem with both parties failing to adhere to the Constitution. Now what can you do about it? Very quickly, 3 things I want to leave you with here today. First of all, start familiarizing yourself with the Constitution, and specifically with Article 1, Section 8, which is where those 18 powers of Congress are listed. Plus, you'll end up knowing more than most congressmen do. Second, the Federal Reserve is shrouded in secrecy, and they answer to absolutely no one. But right now, there are 2 bills in Congress that need your support. One in the House and one in the Senate. And both of these bills are about auditing the Fed. This is honestly the first serious time that we have had as American people to find out what has the Federal Reserve been getting up to lately. So contact your congressman and ask them to support the bills, remember, on auditing the Fed. Lastly, what does the father of our Constitution say is the remedy to our dilemma? James Madison. Listen. James Madison wrote, "In case the Congress shall misconstrue the Constitution, exercising power not warranted by its true meaning, a remedy must be found from the people who sound the alarm and exert their local influence in effecting a change in federal representatives." What this ultimately means, it comes down to you. It demands from you that you put different people on the ballot starting next year. And not just different names in what we have seen in the past, but a different breed of politicians. Those who are not beholden to a political party. Those who are not beholden to the establishment. But those who are beholden to the Constitution of the United States. These are men who put liberty first, and who are not afraid to vote no in Congress every time if necessary, because the faithful representative would never vote for something that is not specifically enumerated and expressly authorized in our great Constitution. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Scott. Well said.